Welcome to the National Women's Fitness Academy podcast. We're here to talk about women's health, female hormones, body image, and all things health and fitness.
Hello, girls, and welcome back to another episode of the Women's Fitness Academy's podcast. I'm your host, Siggy, one of the WFA's educators and a women's online coach. Today, I'm joined by the lovely Emma. Emma is from NM Bodies, who runs her coaching business with her partner, Nick. They have different specialty areas, and Emma's area is building confidence in women, building a strong relationship with themselves, whether it's nutrition, through training, through mindset, and working on overcoming limiting beliefs and building a strong relationship with food and education around nutrition. And they have a very big focus on creating habits, routines, and allowing a lifelong and sustainable approach so their clients can not only achieve their goals, but also keep them for life. And you know what? We're all about that at the Women's Fitness Academy. Like, we are here for the long-term gains. So Emma, thank you so much for joining me, babe.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here today.
So excited. I love this. This is going to be a really cool chat because prior to us recording, we spoke about what some changes are happening within yourself, what's already happened, what's upcoming. So let's dive into the energy shift that's happening right now for you. Do you mind sharing with our listeners, like, what is going on in the world of Emma?
Yeah, absolutely. So up until 2 weeks ago, I was prepping for my IFBB bikini debut. So I have competed previously in other federations, but the last 2 years of my life was completely dedicated to bodybuilding and becoming the best bikini competitor I could be. I felt like my identity was attached to this, and that was my goal for the next 5 years, was to just climb that ladder. The goal was the pro card, whether it was this prep or next prep or the next season, whenever it was, that was my goal. Over the last couple of months, since I started prep, I just started to feel a little bit lost within what I was doing. So going from literally giving everything of my entire waking life to bodybuilding and contest prep, from managing my sleep, my stress, my nutrition, my training, it was all I was consuming. My partner and I run a business together with a big approach to bodybuilding as well. My partner is also my coach. It was just overpowering so much of my life, and I loved it so much at first. Like, I honestly lived, breathed it, so passionate about it, until I just lost that spark for it. And I don't know if it's because maybe I went a little bit too all in on it, which is, I suppose, if you want to do well in bodybuilding, that's what you have to do. If you want to be successful with it, you have to make it your whole entire life. So I just started to feel really lost, and I didn't know why. Like, I have my dream career. I get to help women achieve their health and fitness goals every single day. I get to train. I work for myself. I have created a lifestyle for myself that I love, and I just wasn't feeling fulfilled. And I didn't know what was causing that, because I loved bodybuilding, or so I thought, and I just felt this shift in my energy. And I thought, it's time to sit down and do a little bit of reflection on this. Why do I feel like this? What other areas of my life is this affecting? And I did that. I sat down, I thought about it, and I just realized I had kind of lost myself along the way. I was actually listening to a podcast from my posing coach, Renee Garner, who is an IFBB pro. And in this podcast, she was talking about like masculine and feminine energy. And to be honest, like, I had heard of this before, and I just kind of thought it was a load of nothing, to be honest. Like, I was like, no, that's not a thing. And I started thinking about it, and I was like, wow, like, this is actually a thing. And I obviously, like, the bodybuilding, it does require a lot of routine, structure, rigidity. And I felt like I was losing like a side of myself that just was my feminine side, that goes with the flow and listens to my intuition and just, is able to live life in harmony. And instead I was just routine, structure, hustle. And I was burnt out and living in a constant state of fight or flight, essentially, is what it felt like. So I talked to my partner and I did a bit of thinking, and it was a big decision to make because I literally talked a big game on social media. It was all I talked about, and my content was all very relatable to bodybuilding as well at the time because that's what I was doing. And I was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how I'm going to move past this, but I know I need to be happy. And I also started to think about my health and longevity as well. I'm 31, so I'm not exactly the youngest competitor in the world. I started when I was older, and I also want to consider having children in the next year. And I didn't want that to affect fertility and things like that down the track. You know what I mean?
I love that you brought this up because too often we see a lot of women who are competing for the wrong reasons. And I love the fact that you've opened this discussion saying if you're wanting to do bodybuilding, you need to be in it to win it. And for you to have this realization, you're like, I love it, but there's something else right now that's, wanting me to pursue differently. Like you said, like maybe it's family, maybe it's a change around the health and fitness. But it's so important to follow that intuition. And you know what? Speaking of energies, like that's more of your feminine side.
Yeah, exactly.
And as women, that's our superpower, having that intuition. So by not having that self-trust within yourself, too often we'll be too rigid in that masculine energy. And again, like there's no wrong and right, but sometimes if you have too much of it, it's going to deplete the other side of it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I felt like. I just felt like obviously masculine energy is a really good thing and we need it for that routine and getting things done. But when it's overpowering everything else, like I just felt lost with everything else. I felt like I couldn't be a good listener to like my partner, a good daughter to my parents, my sister. I just felt like I was losing myself, you know what I mean? And I couldn't give my all to everything in my life. And I just had to prioritize what really and truly is the most important thing to me.
What are some things that you started noticing that, were making a difference during that time?
I was just so stressed all of the time. I felt like I just had, I guess it's like that hustle culture as well. You know what I mean? It's like you have to have everything done by a certain time. You're ticking off the list as you're going. There's so many things that you have to achieve when it comes to bodybuilding. Like it's not just training and nutrition. It's like sleep, stress management, recovery, going to get your massage done, vacuum, mobility work, posing work, all of this extra stuff. And as your calories are starting to get lower too and your energy is getting lower, it's so hard to keep on top of all of the other aspects in life. So I suppose as my energy did start to dip a little bit, like I'm okay with dieting, I'm okay with training, feeling hungry, like all of that's fine. It's just when you actually start to lose your energy and you struggle to keep up with the day-to-day areas of life that really do need a lot of your attention. Like I work with a lot of women. I have 30 clients that I need to be there for and, constantly talking, communicating with them, supporting them and being a good partner and all of this kind of stuff. I just felt like I wasn't able to keep up with that and to live in that constant feeling of fight or flight. Like I was actually starting to think there was something wrong with me. I was like, I thought I had ADHD or something. I was just like losing it all of the time and just, my partner describes it as like we call it skitsy. Like I would go and dart from one thing to the other just to try and get everything done. And I just was driving myself crazy. I just couldn't do it anymore.
It's so good that you found that tipping point though, because sometimes we end up, well, I can speak from my experience that there was a tipping point where I just felt so burnt out that I literally sacrificed my health for everyone else. And it's really funny because we're health coaches and we're not supposed to, let that happen. But again, we learn from our mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a big thing as well. A lot of people don't actually understand that bodybuilding is not a healthy sport. So here I am preaching health, fitness, eating good, nutritious foods and looking after your stress and getting in enough sleep. And I was doing the opposite. And I was like, I'm not leading by example, and that's the last thing I want to do. It's really important to me to be a leader for my clients and to show them and encourage them and support them to do the things that they need to do, not only to reach their physique goals, because that is a big part of my coaching, but also prioritizing their health and nourishing their bodies and that kind of thing as well,
I'm so glad that you brought that topic up, saying that bodybuilding is not healthy.
No, it's not. Like, it looks good, but it's not healthy.
But it's not,
Yeah.
it's a competitive sport, and a lot of people, either they realize it or not. And, a lot of women strive to look a certain way, whether they're striving to look like yourself or the other models on stage.
Yeah.
They have this perception, because she's lean, she's healthy.
Yeah, exactly. And it couldn't be further from the truth. I actually had a few girls reach out to me when I, made the announcement, I'm not going to prep anymore, I'm pulling out of my show. And they actually thought it was a healthy thing to do. And it's like, some people were very, very supportive. Most people are, but then you do get the questions as well. Like, why? Like, why aren't you doing that anymore? And then you've got to go a little bit further in depth and explain. Not that I owe anyone an explanation, but, it is good to educate people on the why and why you're doing things and the decisions that you make. And it actually surprised me how many people actually think bodybuilding is healthy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It really is. And it's funny because, it's 2022, but we're still thinking so far behind, because there's still a lot of people who think when you're lean, it's healthy. And it's just like, it doesn't tie in like that. It's completely wrong.
Yeah, that's it. Because they're like, I'm all for having physique goals and building muscle and having like a body composition that you're happy with. But you've always got to keep health at the front and make that a really big priority, because without your health and energy, you have nothing. Like, you have no energy to go into the gym and train and keep up with your family, your friends, and do all the things that you need to do in life. And it needs to be like at the front of every single thing that you do.
100%. Yeah, totally agree with that. So what's the energy like these days for you?
Well, I pretty much threw myself into something completely different. When I decided not to compete, as you could expect, I felt pretty lost for a couple of days and I didn't know what to do. So I just started looking into like a lot of mindset work, I suppose you'd call it, which is, again, something that I've seen a lot of and I knew like little bits and pieces about, but I was always like, my mindset's fine, I'm good, guys. Like, I don't need to do anything. I was very wrong in that statement. So I just started, going into like the mindset. I started journaling. I started looking into like gratitude and doing things with intention and just finding, I suppose, like my core values and my mission in life, even though I already knew what that was to an extent. I just wanted to dive that little bit deeper into my core values and my mission and what I want to get out of life and just creating a really happy, positive, and abundant life. And I've only been doing this for a couple of weeks. I'm no expert on it, obviously, but it has helped me so much, just journaling down my thoughts and just like trying to lift my vibrations and, go into like the manifestation side of things and just learn more about something that is really helping me and potentially in the future I can help my clients with that side of things as well,
Yeah. What, cause I love all of that stuff. I'm all about, manifestation, the journey, the gratitude side of things. What are some things that have really stuck with you since, started doing that?
Pretty much like everything. So I've created some new habits in my day-to-day routine. So I've got all of my fitness habits down pat. That's something I've been doing for the last 4 or 5 years. So all of that just comes really naturally to me, but I've started habit stacking on top more, I suppose, mindset fitness kind of habits. And so I'm journaling every day and just reflecting on how grateful that I am for the life that I've created and what I'm working towards within like my business. So that was a big thing when I stopped competing as well, is putting that money that I was going to spend on competing and that time back into my business and coaching my girls. So that's, one really positive thing that's come out of it. But then just creating these habits through, journaling, just setting my intentions for the day, just being really mindful of my thoughts. I'm still really like in the new stages of it. So just trying to train my conscious mind, I suppose. So I've always got like those positive, the affirmations and just thinking like positive for the future and what I want my life to be. So I started to write down, as I said at the start of the podcast, like a really big thing is that I want to have a baby in a couple of years and to have a really healthy body to do that and start a family. And within 10 days of doing that, my partner actually proposed to me, which was completely unexpected. And I think it's because I was really, I mean, obviously he was planning it this whole time, but just...
Yeah, I was going to say, was it unexpected?
Yeah. I mean, like he'd mentioned a few things here and there, but I definitely didn't think it was going to happen like within, you know, such a short time frame. And not that that's what I was like writing down in my journal, like I want my partner to propose to me, but I was like just thinking about like creating that healthy family life, because I really want to be able to share that with like a lot of my clientele, like that my clientele, they're mums, they're busy business women, they've got families, and I really want to be able to set that example of health to them as well, and you know, show them that you can do that, like have a family and, you know, prioritize looking after the household and all that kind of stuff, and still put yourself first when it comes to your health goals and your fitness goals, and, you know, keeping up with the children and all of that kind of thing too.
I love that. It's so beautiful to hear more women doing more of that work, because again, like we think our mindset is okay, but then we dive a little bit deeper and we're like, oh, maybe there's something that I do need to work on a little bit more.
Yeah. And I like literally thought I was good. There was been so much that I've had to work on over the last 2 weeks. And even though it's kind of like this, that self-reflection, but it always leads to such a positive thing, because then you know what action you need to take in order to propel your life forward, no matter what direction that you're trying to go with, or what you're trying to achieve, whether that's a career goal, a family goal, a body image, like fitness goal. It all kind of like has that same like core thing that you need to do, you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. I love that. Now, is this something that you're going to, you know, introduce with your clients, or is this something that you're going to do just, you know, for yourself at the moment?
At the moment, just something that I'm doing for myself. Like I always talk to my clients, like if I find something that helps me, I'll, you know, send them in that same direction. So right now, like the journaling stuff that I'm doing, like I will suggest, hey, why don't you try this if you are really struggling with that? But yeah, there's a few things that I want to do for myself when it comes to it, and actually looking to maybe furthering my education, looking to study an NLP or something along those lines. Just, it's not something I've looked into yet. I've just got that broad idea of this could be a really cool thing to add into my coaching business, because we all know that the grass grows where you water it. So if you start a fitness goal and you're not quite there yet with your mindset or your why or your intentions, it's going to be really hard to move forward and actually achieve that health and fitness goal as well. So I think it just goes hand in hand.
Yeah, 100%. You know, and you know what? The body follows the mind and the mind follows the body. It's like it all works together. Speaking of coaching, what made you start in the coaching industry?
Well, when I was quite young, I moved out of home and I moved all the way into the middle of nowhere and decided to start living in the country, which was a really beautiful small town. But I did this to hide because I had no confidence. I got really bullied in high school, and I didn't really know what I wanted to achieve from life. So I ran away. I hid in a small town in the middle of nowhere. And throughout that time hiding, my self-worth and self-confidence just started to actually decline. I moved out of my family home, so I wasn't eating healthy food anymore. My portion control went straight out the window. I was eating a lot of McDonald's, like binge drinking, all of that kind of stuff. And I had no muscle at the time either. So I put on like a fair bit of weight. Like I wasn't overweight or anything, but it was just enough to not feel confident within myself anymore. So after I kind of like saw some photos of myself and reflected on that, I dove straight into clean eating and restricting calories, and unfortunately going the wrong way about trying to reach my goal that I had, although I didn't really know what my goal was. I just knew that I wanted to be a little bit skinnier at the time, right? So I dove into clean eating, which is kind of, it was a good and a bad thing because it led me to where I am today. And I also did start to study a fair bit into nutrition within this phase of my like my dieting phase, I suppose you would call it, because I did start to become quite intrigued about different foods and how they can help you when, how they can help fight different diseases and things like that in the body. So I did originally start my nutrition studies from doing a advanced diploma in nutritional medicine, which I didn't actually complete, but I did get a fair bit of the way into it and found it quite interesting. And then I started working in a health food store, which I'm sure you can imagine the clean eating got even worse from there. There's a lot of crazy foods in those health food stores. And I actually ended up losing quite a bit of weight. So I dropped down to 49 kilos, and at 169 centimeters tall with no muscle, that's a very small frame. So I was quite skinny. I was very weak. I didn't have a lot of energy. I didn't have a lot of confidence or self-worth. Like, I was always like kind of analyzing my physique and being like, I'm just so little. Like, my posture was really bad. I was never into sport as a child, so I had no form of muscle whatsoever. And throughout my, I suppose, like my clean eating research on the internet, it led me to what I guess we would call fitness influencers on YouTube. And I was like, wow, okay, these girls look really cool. Like, they're strong, they're lifting weights, they're eating like hamburgers, and they look amazing. So I was like, okay, I'm going to look into this. So I just started watching YouTube of these girls lifting weights, and then I joined the gym and I never looked back. So the first probably the first year of my self-training, my training could have been a lot better. I was just kind of walking into the gym. I was winging it. Like, I was ringing my dad being like, hey, what do I do? Like how much does this barbell weigh? Like, should I lift it? Like, I had no idea. So I was just really taking bits from YouTube, like ringing my dad, like looking around the gym, seeing what other people were doing, and just putting together bits and pieces. But the one thing from the beginning I loved was just going into the gym and feeling strong. I had a goal and I knew I wanted to achieve it. So even though I had no idea what I was doing, and I did feel a little bit, I wouldn't say embarrassed, but a little bit nervous walking in because I didn't know what to do, I just kept doing it because I knew that's what was going to take me to that goal, and that I would just learn along the way. I definitely could have fast-tracked my results by hiring a coach or even a personal trainer and starting to research properly rather than just watching YouTube videos. So after I'd been training for about 6 months, I decided to take the leap and study my personal training certificate. And that was just to start with, was just to gain more knowledge. And then as I got a little bit further into my weightlifting and my body recomposition journey that I was going through, I was like, wow, I really love this, and I love the way it's making me feel. I'm building my confidence. I am learning how to do things properly, and that was really encouraging to me. And I wanted to help other women feel the same way, especially with the nutrition side of things, from going from clean eating and severe caloric restriction and, eliminating my favorite foods to go and eat crazy, what would actually be calorie dense, like clean treats and things like that. Because at the time I thought that was the right thing to do. I wanted to help other women avoid that step so they could learn the right ways to do things. They could learn how to do things in the most optimal way for them. Like, not everything is going to work for the one individual, as we know. Methods, you can have a certain method that you start with, but it's always going to need to be tailored, and people learn differently and they respond differently, and every individual needs like a different style of coaching to an extent. So I just wanted to be able to help women avoid making the mistakes that I did, but feel the way that I did. So build their confidence and enjoy eating foods that they loved without restricting and doing crazy fad diets and things like that.
I love that. To be honest, every coach that I've spoken to, or even myself, we are literally wanting to let our clients have the best experience possible when they're entering their health and fitness journey, so they don't make the same mistakes as we have. And I think that's such a beautiful thing, especially from, your story, from growing up, being bullied, not liking your body, but then restricting and going through the clean eating cycle, and then the health food store. It's just like, whoa, like you don't realize how much you've gone through. And then when you speak to clients, it's just like, you don't have to do this on your own. Like, you are going to be able to fast pace your results by having a coach who's already done it.
Exactly, 100%. And like skip all of that heartache and, that money down the drain that you may spend on like, those online programs and things that you find, which are, just fad diets at the end of the day and like a quick hit circuit or something along those lines. And if you can just, it can seem like an expense, but if you change your mindset to an investment, that you're investing into your health, into your fitness, into your future, and you actually get to just completely jump over the mistakes that most people do make, and avoid that completely, and you're going to be years ahead down the track as well, which is a really good thing because muscle takes time to build. If you can skip past that, then you are doing yourself favors.
Seriously, people don't realize how long it actually takes to build muscle.
Yeah, exactly. I was actually talking to one of my clients this morning, as another reason why I did step back from competing was to be that really good example to them, because a lot of them were starting to ask me questions about, why I was doing things, should they be doing that too? Because obviously I was dropping weight quite quickly because it's an extreme sport, and my they all have access to my MyFitnessPal because I go through their diaries so they can see mine, so they can see what I'm eating. And I didn't want to be giving them that example of caloric restriction and under eating and starvation in order to achieve a result. But I was talking to one of them this morning about like what I'm doing now, which is just transitioning into a bit more of a maintenance phase. And I can do that because I have been pretty much like quite on point for the last 4 to 5 years where, I have been tracking my food intake, I've been prioritizing my nutrition and my training. And now I'm at that position that I can just, hey, like I'm pretty good with where I'm at. I can maintain for a little bit of time until I want to set a new goal. And I was like, wow, like 4 years of like really hardcore training and eating. And like, that's what it takes sometimes to reach that goal.
Yeah, it's not just a 12-week transformation.
Not at all. And that's the thing that I really do want to preach on social media and just like to my clients as well, is that it takes time and there is no such thing as a quick fix. And if you can become process oriented when it comes to your goals and just ticking like off those habits on a day-to-day basis and enjoying that process and, going to the gym because you want to feel strong and build your confidence and filling your macros with good, healthy, nutritious food because you want to nourish your body and have all the health benefits and have all the energy, it's going to make that process seem a lot less of a long, daunting process as well. And then before you know it, you love it. And it doesn't really matter when you reach that goal because you're doing it because you enjoy it.
Yeah. And you know what? The beauty about that is also having a coach by your side to help you to get there.
Definitely.
A little bit quicker. Because you mentioned before how you used to go on YouTube and get all these workouts and then call your dad. And it literally brought memories to my brain going, oh my God, I remember those days when I would go on YouTube and like download like random like arms and back workouts.
Yeah, like the bro split.
Yeah, like random bodybuilders. And then I would go on bodybuilding.com and find like, sample diets of the fitness models that I was like aspiring to be. Oh my God.
Yeah, exactly. And, I guess like these days, like people who do start their fitness journey now, their body recomposition journey now, there is a lot more good information out on the internet and there's a lot more educational resources, which is really, really good. But it still doesn't quite compare to having something completely customized for you as an individual because no two people are the same and you just never know, what works for your favorite fitness model is not potentially going to work for you. Like it could be the best bikini program in the world for that person, but for you might just need something a little bit different as well. Trial and error.
Yeah, exactly. Trial and error. And that's what I always tell new clients that come on board. Even though I have one set method that I follow, there's always going to be ways that we're going to change it up and experiment with it because like you said, we're all completely different.
Yeah.
So that one method may not work for them. So we'll have to change it around and that's fine.
Yeah, exactly. And it should be like that too, because within the mindset of an individual as well. Like, you don't know like how they are going to actually cope with these different things. So like you said, having that method is like such a good way to start, and having that starting position, and then obviously making changes as needed. You can not only change just to how the body responds, but also the mindset response and how they cope with the different things that they, should be doing to get to their goals, and what changes can you make to make it more sustainable for that individual, like mentally as well.
Yeah, I love that. What are some changes that you're making right now that now you've stopped bodybuilding?
Well, as far as training and nutrition, I'm actually doing everything the same, except for I'm eating at my maintenance calories. I'm no longer in a calorie deficit. And we are just enjoying a few off-plan meals on the weekend. So going out for date nights and breakfast and things like that, where I don't actually track it. I just go and enjoy myself. Training is the same. I love training like a bikini competitor or like a bodybuilder. I really, really like that hardcore training scene. So that will probably stay the same until we try and have a baby. And just the different changes is just within my mindset practices. So applying like the gratitude and doing the journaling and things like that. I've got a few exciting business projects that I'm working on as well, which are going to be big projects, but I'm working on doing those. And a really nice thing with that is usually I would feel quite overwhelmed with adding projects like that. But I think just going through all this mindset work and mindfulness is actually helping me to be a lot more productive as well. And it's just ticking off boxes without stressing about things too.
So important to tick off those goals without the, added stress.
Definitely.
Like the stress is always going to be there, whether it's good or bad, but it's the way we handle it.
That's right. Stress management is always key. And that's what every check-in with my clients, I would say the same thing. The stress is always going to be there, but it's how you manage it, which is, the main thing. So yeah, that just comes back to leading by example again.
What are some ways that have helped you to manage your stress?
So I really like to just kind of sit in silence. So I need a lot of like peace and to kind of declutter my mind. So I'll sit here, I will do some deep breaths, I'll go play with my dog, I will sit down and like read a book, have a cup of tea, eliminate as much time as possible on social media. So I've actually entered and decided to have this new rule where I just go on Instagram within my business hours, which is usually around like pretty early in the morning. I do start work. So I do try and stay off Instagram as much as possible until I finish my training session in the morning. WhatsApp, I'll go on a little bit earlier because that's where I start talking to my clients. And then I'm off Instagram and WhatsApp by about 5 p.m., which has made the world of difference to my mental health and my mindset and managing my stress as well.
Let's talk about Instagram. I think this is a conversation that needs to be spoken about, even though, as coaches or even women who are listening to us right now who are just, training in the fitness industry, they don't realize the effects that the mindless scrolling has on a mindset. And please share, what made you make those changes?
I've always been a little bit not in love, Instagram to me. So it's a very important business tool because I've built my whole business on there. But at the same time, I really don't like a lot of the stuff on there and what it stands for and the comparison. And, obviously we all post things that look really good and what's aesthetic and like the good parts of our life. We're not on there posting I'm sitting in the corner pulling my hair out because I'm so stressed right now. But there's just many things about Instagram that actually really bother me, from the communication between people, the negativity on there, like the bullying, like the negative comments and trolling. I'm very lucky that hasn't happened to me, touch wood. If it does, that's okay. I've got pretty thick skin. But yeah, I just find it actually quite a toxic platform, and it's a important business tool. But when it comes to mindset, I was just doing this scrolling and seeing other people's lives and what they're doing. It doesn't do me any favors. It doesn't help my business. It doesn't help my clients. It doesn't help me in any way, shape or form. It's just absorbing mostly. There is obviously some really good posts on there that you see, but you just absorb so much of it that everything just almost becomes pointless information as well. So I've actually started to, so like I said, I'll go on, I'll use it during business hours, but if I find myself picking it up too much and to go to just mindlessly scroll, that's one thing that I do try not to do at all. I will put it down and then I'll go and read like a couple of pages of a book instead to just replace that habit, because I do think it is a habit more than anything.
100%. Yeah. And a lot of people don't realize that, you know what, like I've caught myself many times that I would just be on the couch chilling and then all of a sudden I'm like scrolling on Instagram. I'm like, how did I get here? Like,
yeah,
like what? How am I on, like Bob's page when it's like Bob's uncle's friends, fiance, like how you go into like that scroll, you're like, whoa, how did I get here? So yeah, I love the fact that you mentioned that it's just a matter of you changing that habit into something a little bit more purposeful or doing something completely different.
Yeah, exactly. Like something that's actually going to be productive and add value to your life. So, there's so many things. Like I know a lot of women use Instagram to educate on health and fitness, but I think even just changing that and downloading an ebook or buying a book or something like that you can read a little bit more about nutrition, or, there's a lot of fitness coaches out there that do have ebooks as well that you can download and read that information, or listen to a podcast or something a little bit more beneficial instead. I'm actually reading a book at the moment called Limitless, which has taken me quite some time to get through. So I've said,
yeah,
it's a great book.
Yeah, I've read it. It's great.
And in that book, he talks about like that there is actually so much information that we are absorbing on a day-to-day basis that our brains are just in so much overdrive that we actually don't remember anything that we read anyway. And, if you can eliminate some of those things, you'll probably find that you just learn so much more and more valuable information too.
Yeah, exactly. And absorbing it in little amount of spaces. Yeah,
that's right.
I love that. Yeah, his book is amazing. For those who don't know, like Limitless is a great book.
Yeah, highly recommend that one.
Yeah, definitely. I love that. Oh my God, I love where this conversation has gone. It's so funny how we ended up just talking about like Instagram when we could talk about it. But you know what? I think it's really important for everyone to understand that if you're noticing yourself mindlessly scrolling, it's just like, sit yourself in reflection and be like, what am I doing here? What was the purpose? And most of the time there was no purpose for you to be on there because it's a habit that you've created.
Yeah, that's right. And it's just like we can create positive habits. We do also have negative habits. So it's just replacing that negative habit with something a little bit more positive.
Yeah, I love that. So true. So true. Oh my God, I love this conversation. So good.
Me too.
I know it's been really good. I love the fact that we started off with, to recap today, we spoke about, the energy shift that you're going through, how you've veered away from bodybuilding more into like the health center of, your coaching, but also life, which I think is really important. And all of us were on different, what's the word I'm looking for? Like different stages of life right now. And you're right now finding yourself, wanting to be more healthier and, have a family and so on. And who knows, maybe we have listeners here and they're like, no, I just want to stick to the bodybuilding. And it's just awesome. Like stick to it, but also take care of your mental health if that's something that's, degrading it.
Yeah, that's it. I was actually having a conversation with one of my clients today who is about to start her prep. She's in off season at the moment. And because I actually did a talk about this on my podcast yesterday. And she was just like, after listening to that, now I'm questioning my why of what I want to compete. And am I doing it for the right reasons? Is it going to affect my health too much? And at the end of the day, if you're doing it because you truly love it and you're happy with what you're doing right now and it aligns with you and it's all of the right reasons, and then that's absolutely fantastic. Like I have nothing against bodybuilding. Like I do potentially plan on going back to it maybe 5 years down the track after I have had children, return as a masters competitor, see how I go. But it is what it is. Like if that's what makes you happy and that's what you're passionate about and everything is aligning in your life, then that is the main thing. And there's no issues with going through with a prep, just as long as you do it in a healthy way and you look after your mental health as well.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely looking after your mental health. I love that. Yeah, you have to put your priorities right, because if you're doing it for the wrong reasons, just like, well, why are you competing?
Yeah, exactly. That's right. And it is a little bit of a fashion these days. And I think that's the main thing. Like, if you really are truly considering it, just ask yourself the question, like, am I doing it for the right reasons? The first bodybuilding contest that I did with WBFF in 2021, I think I did that for the wrong reasons. Like, it was more like that was the fashion on Instagram. I was a fitness coach. I thought I had to. And then I did it and I fell in love with the process halfway through. I wanted to do it again. And then I did start to want to do it for the right reasons. And I invested so much into it. But you also need to be able to listen to that intuition as well. And if you do shift your energy and you're not passionate about it anymore and it's not making you happy, then what is the point of continuing on? Because people are allowed to change and evolve and grow.
100%. You, like, literally everyone has the right to change whenever they want to.
Yeah, without judgment.
Without judgment, and no needing to explain to people as well about the change. Like going back to what you mentioned before, some people were questioning, going like, oh, why? And that's all good and well for you to explain that. But at the end of the day, you don't have to explain yourself why you're making those changes.
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
I love that. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. This conversation has been so enlightening, and I know a lot of our clients, a lot of our listeners will be loving today's conversation and getting them to think a little bit more about their goals, whether they are in bodybuilding or whether they're in a sport that they've been doing for so long, and maybe they want to transition to something completely different.
Yeah, exactly. Just, set your intentions and follow your heart and go with the flow, I think is the biggest lesson that I learned from all of this.
That feminine energy, creeping back in.
Having the balance.
I know. I love it so much. So before we head off, where can our listeners find you?
So you can find me on my Instagram, which is at EmmaCarr_NMBodies, and also on my website, which is just nmbodies.com.
Love that. Awesome. Well, girls, if you enjoyed today's podcast, please make sure that you screenshot it, tag us at the Women's Fitness Academy, tag myself, tag Emma, and then till then, just go with the flow and do what you want to wish to do in life.
I love that. Thank you so much for having me today.